Welcome to episode 30 of the Wiley Wire. Today we're going to break down the latest assassination attempt on President Trump. We're also going to cover the last two assassination attempts before this one. There's now been three since 2024. We're going to pose the question, what role does the media have in these three assassination attempts? Welcome to the Wiley Wire.
As soon as he passed down that.
18, go for Lieutenant Hudson. You monitoring this there?
Very good, though. Obviously.
Go for
Shall I post it as soon as he passed down that?
18, go for
We're going to begin the episode. We're going to cover the Cole Allen assassination attempt on President Trump. And first off, the Secret Service did a phenomenal job tackling this guy, apprehended him very quick. And if you see the video, which I played in this intro of the segment, this guy was flying. He was running fast. I mean, this is like an athletic guy. I mean, he was moving. So you can break down what the Secret Service could have done and what they should have done. But at this point, when you got a maniac out there that is looking to kill, there's only so much you can do. And these guys handle it. Thank God the one Secret Service officer had a bulletproof vest on because he was shot at close range and he was okay. They were able to apprehend this person. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the security of the event. You know, I understand that this has gone on for a long, long time. This White House Correspondents' Dinner, you know, where all the different media networks from the furthest left to the furthest right to the center. And it actually fuels me that we can't just have regular news. We have to have left news, right news. I'd rather watch center news. At least it's probably more legit, less biased. But at the same time, left-wing news is just nuts. You know, left-wing propaganda is really a problem. And we're going to get to that towards the end of this episode. But this particular facility, the hotel, you know, obviously this individual took a train from California all the way to Chicago, then another train from Chicago to DC. He was a guest at the hotel, and obviously he took the train so he can bring the guns he had, the weapons he had. He had to use the train. He couldn't use an airplane, obviously, with the TSA and all that. So that's easily apparent. He had a manifesto talking about killing Donald Trump and as many members of his cabinet that he possibly could. So that was already in his manifesto. His family alerted the authorities when they were given a copy of his manifesto or parts of his manifesto that were given to his family members. So the family did the right thing by reporting this to the police. Now, this is an ongoing investigation, so I'm sure more of a timeline is going to happen. When did the police get this information and how long did they sit on it? Did they report it right away to the FBI? That I don't know. I'm sure that's going to come out soon. But it seems to me like the family did the right thing. So this individual has an engineering degree. He's obviously very intelligent, seems to be radicalized, no doubt. And this is what happens to some people. And you can say people get radicalized on the right. I'm sure they do, but it seems like when you look at being radicalized on the right, it's not something that becomes violent. I'm not promoting it, but at least it's not violent. It seems like when you get radicalized on the left, it becomes violent. And there's too many instances to, prove that. And I mean, you don't even have to have me break every one of them down. There's just so many out there. In the media on the left seems to really get some of these crazies to get even crazier or get radicalized. I'm not saying it's all the media's fault. We're going to cover that in our final segment. But this individual obviously had family. He obviously was intelligent. He was a teacher. And something happened where he lost his mind and decided to do this. So we can get down to all the reasons why he lost his mind, but let's just get over the facts here. Secret Service had, to have a guy sprint by like that with a gun, I'm like, he's going to get past you. They're standing, not ready for something like that. I mean, you're always ready, but they can't be ready for something like that. Thank God he didn't get any further. They tackled him, apprehended him. And a lot of people were saying, why didn't he have a shirt on? It's protocol. They stripped most of the clothes off the individual and wrap them in. It looked like it was foil, but that's something like a foil blanket. That's something they always do. So there's some conspiracy theories going on out there. Was this staged and all that? And this was just chaos. This was definitely not staged by any means. Would seem to be a lone wolf at this point. And maybe he had some people that were getting in his head from other places. We don't know. Maybe they'll prove that down the road. But at this point, he seems like a lone wolf. And he just acted pretty much in an absolutely crazy manner. I mean, think about the guy. He took a train from Los Angeles all the way to Washington, D.C. So he obviously isn't right. He had all that time to think about what he was going to do. And he had a long time to change his mind or call a family member or something like that. But he sat on that train that entire time. He was there to do one thing, and that was to kill President Trump and as many people as he could. And they were saying that hotel, you get your room key, your mobile room key, you can park in the garage and go right up the elevator in. Obviously, the event was pretty secure, but they also said that they didn't even check your ticket. So people would come all dressed up. One of the attendees said they weren't even really looking at your ticket. They were more concerned about what you're bringing in. And that's definitely an issue right there, in my opinion. You need a ticket to get into a baseball game. You should need a ticket to get into this event. And I'm not saying they didn't have tickets, that they just said it wasn't really being enforced. It's more about the metal detectors, getting through all that. And this individual probably didn't know how many metal detectors there were, realized there's more than what he thought, and they got tackled. But again, that poor Secret Service agent, thank God he's okay, man. That could have hit him in the head or the face, and he'd been dead. So this individual was definitely looking to do some damage. But let's talk about some of the controversy about this ballroom. So just so everybody knows, the ballroom is just a talking point. That's all. It has nothing to do with right or wrong, or, there's nothing that it affects the people on the ballroom. The ballroom is not being paid by your tax dollars. It's all privately donated money for the ballroom that Trump and his associates acquired. So the taxpayers don't have to pay a dime of this. But this really highlights it, because a lot of the people I saw interviewed were saying they always thought that this hotel was unsafe, even before Trump was president. It just wasn't secure enough for a president to be there. We're living in different times now. And you have a lot of people saying that this hotel wasn't that secure. And having this at a ballroom in the White House is so much more appropriate. Events like this, it's the most secure place in the country. No reason not to do it. And they're suing President Trump for the ballroom. Just think how dumb that is. The taxpayers aren't paying for it. It's been privately funded, and they're suing him over it to stop it. This is the type of thing that makes no sense to me. But yet they'll allow all this fraud happen in all these different states, and no one's getting sued for that. But a ballroom that's desperately needed at the White House, we're the biggest country in the world. We host leader upon leader. Events like this can take place. Something like this will never happen again to a future president, whether it's Democrat or Republican. It doesn't matter. This should not happen. And this individual probably knew that this site was a good target. And we're so fortunate that he was tackled by the Secret Service. Let's get back to this Cole Allen guy. It seems like a lot of really intelligent people. It starts at the universities, high-level universities, teaching kind of radical behavior like hate the government, hate the president, hate Trump. It's just inappropriate. Schools shouldn't be teaching that. Teachers shouldn't be saying that, even from K through 12. There's teachers all over online. I'm seeing some teachers saying, I wish I would have woke up and he was dead. I wish I didn't hear the news that he survived and all this stuff. It's like crazy. These people are teaching kids. We shouldn't have people like this in schools teaching. It doesn't matter who the president is. We can't have people that are mentally unstable teaching kids. And it seems like a lot of teachers nowadays are unstable. You know, from kindergarten teachers to this individual, Cole Allen was a teacher. Engineer, looked to be very smart, but somehow got radicalized. Again, we'll do that in my final segment. But this Cole Allen guy, obviously family members saw something changing. That's why they reported him. It's so unfortunate that people like this are getting radicalized, whether it's on the internet, social media, mainstream media news, education system, to do something like this. But we'll be back. Our next segment, we're going to cover Ryan Routh. He was the person that fired shots at President Trump on the golf course. And we'll talk about that assassination attempt and how it differs from this one. And then our third segment, we're going to go over the Thomas Crooks assassination attempt. We'll be back. Let's talk about Ryan Routh. He's got a pretty strange background. I got him about 80% lone wolf. I got 20% other facets involved in him, maybe not directly, but knew what he was up to. And let's break down the scenario, how this happened. Now, he was a convicted felon, unable to get a gun. I think his contacts, who he was talking to, probably would have got him a gun on their own if they were more involved. I think they were probably more involved in mental manipulation, if anything. So he did contact a guy in Mexico, talked about getting illegal immigrants into the country, also talked about his escape after his assassination of President Trump. That's all in the files. You can look it up. If you just Google it, Wikipedia it, it's got pretty much the standard information. You can go down more rabbit holes, but we'll just keep it pretty clean right now. But he did contact this guy in Mexico about his getaway as well. This person was outside of Mexico City, He also had contacts in the Ukraine, and he was talking about getting a rocket launcher to shoot at Trump's plane. This is all confirmed. It's in the files. So this guy was more of a lone wolf, but he did have ties to other countries. And I have to guess there's more people that knew what he was up to. And my complete opinion on that. I think the reason that he was charged and caught because it was in Florida, obviously a very right-leaning state. DeSantis was and is the governor, obviously. Not to say that if it was in another state, he wouldn't have been arrested. I just think there's more facts got out about it quicker compared to Thomas Crooks, where nothing got out and still nothing came out about it. We'll get to that in our next segment. But this was kind of on DeSantis's hands and his federal officials, and then the FBI got involved. And I think some things got dropped, in my opinion. This was not Trump's FBI, Trump's CIA at the time. So I guarantee some balls were dropped on this, but he is arrested. He is in jail for the rest of his life. A little background on him. He has 3 children. He was married. He did have a partner at the time. So weird stuff with this guy. I kind of think he was an asset for another country, kind of an informant type, paid non-CIA, we'll call it CIA, but non-country official, just being paid to do a job, or maybe not. Maybe just assisted in his thinking and his strategy, because I think if he was less of a lone wolf, he wouldn't have had as much trouble getting the gun. So let's go over how he got the gun. There was 2 people in the area. One he went to high school with that he hasn't talked to in a long, long time. A friend of his knew the person that he knew in high school. I guess they arranged the sale of the gun. It wasn't to Ryan Routh. It was to somebody else, a female. You can look all this up, their names. And they purchased the gun and gave it to Ryan Routh. Now, one of the individuals didn't know, or maybe both didn't know what he was going to do with the gun. But once he attempted to shoot President Trump and was arrested, they took the hands-off approach and started deleting all the text messages between Ryan Routh and the 2 that worked to get him the gun. And there's no information that they knew what he was going to do with it, but they were basically getting a felon a gun. They didn't cooperate with the FBI right off the bat, and eventually they ended up cooperating, and they were arrested for giving false statements about selling the gun to Ryan Routh. During the trial, Ryan Routh represented himself, most of it, and then when he was convicted of life in prison, he took a pen and tried to stab himself in the neck and kill himself. But he was unsuccessful, and he's in jail for the rest of his life. But recapping my opinion on it, Ryan Routh's 80% lone wolf, 20% getting mentally manipulated by different facets, maybe different countries, to pull something out like this. And I just don't think they wanted to get too hands-on with it, or they would have got him the guns. The plan seems more lone wolf to me, but he does have contacts in Mexico and in the Ukraine, and he was attempting to get weapons from them as well. But we'll be back with our 3rd assassination attempt and the first on President Trump, segment 3, Thomas Crooks. And wow, this one just loaded with what's going on here questions. You're just not going to even believe some of the things that happened in this. And this was during the Biden DOJ. So, I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but this information will blow your mind. We'll be back with the Thomas Crooks segment.
The president's been shot. Oh no.
Either that or they're covering. We don't know. Either that or they're covering him. We love you. We love you, President Trump. We love you. We love you, President Trump. We love you. Yes. 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 We love you, President Trump. No. No, stop.
Let's talk about Thomas Crooks. And this is why conspiracy theories start. Because things like this. This was during the Biden DOJ. I've never seen a case just completely go under the table, no questions asked, and just basically gone. You don't even talk about it anymore. Thomas Crooks was a deranged kid, obviously had some mental issues prior to this occurring. But there's just so many things that just call out conspiracy with this. And I'm not one of those people that make stuff up and all that. With this podcast, I try to give you the best information I can that's out there. It's not made up. If it isn't 100% confirmed, I will say that. But the list for Thomas Crooks of things that went down is completely mind-blowing, to the point where it's almost hard not to think that they covered this whole thing up. But I have a long list of things that are just very strange about this case. It's really not a case anymore. It's a closed case. Thomas Crooks tried to kill Trump. He was killed by another Secret Service guy on a roof, and that was it. But let's go over the strange aspects of this. There's so many. I'm going to put a few up here. So this is the one that's crazy. Thomas Crooks's house was professionally scrubbed right after the murder. His home was scrubbed so well that there isn't even any silverware left in the home. He had no internet footprint, no social media, all wiped. There are social media posts of him from the past before they wiped it, but there is no footprint now on the internet. No social media footprint, completely wiped. This kid's young. He's definitely had social media. He's 19 years old. He was also in a BlackRock commercial. Let that set in. BlackRock commercial. There was never a formal report of what happened. There was never press conferences where they detailed all the information they know currently and where the investigation stands. It just went away. I mean, he's a very young kid walking around with a rangefinder and a rifle at a Trump event. And people said they pointed at him. They pointed him on the roof. They pointed at him everywhere. This is one that's really wild. CNN never covers the Trump rallies. They never do. Fox News covers them occasionally, not all the time. Newsmax always covers them. But CNN streamed it live. They never stream his rallies live. But this one, for some reason, in Butler, Pennsylvania, middle of nowhere, they streamed this one live. They wouldn't let people on that roof because the Secret Service lady said it was sloped and was dangerous. That roof was not dangerous. He climbed up there. You don't think a professional Secret Service person can be on there? And the sniper on the other roof that shot Crooks was on a roof that was even steeper. Obviously, random people saw him with the gun. Nothing happened. The kid had 5 phones. He had 5 phones and no social media. The body was immediately cremated after he died. There's so many indications, so many things here that are just crazy. This is an unconfirmed report. A lot of people are saying it's true. A lot of different sources are close to this case, been working on it for a while and just came to a complete halt because there's nowhere else to go with it. There were some indications that there was a phone that had been traveling from outside the FBI offices in DC to where this kid lived multiple times. Unconfirmed reports of him shooting at a range with what appeared to be professional shooters. So that's unconfirmed. The last thing I said about the phone going outside the FBI office is unconfirmed. This was said numerous times on shows by ex-FBI agents that are no longer in the FBI are stating this. So from their sources in the FBI, but it hasn't been confirmed, so I can't say it's true. But what is true? The kid had 5 phones. What is true? His body was cremated right away after he died. His house was professionally scrubbed. He was able to walk around with a rangefinder. It appeared to be Trump's Secret Service team was not the most equipped. There were some good professionals on it, but I guess there were some people that weren't able to lead that team, basically set up for failure. Somehow, somebody got in Secret Service ear to say that that roof was too steep for them to go up. My theory is maybe that Secret Service person didn't check the roof to see if it was too steep and just relied on knowledge from wherever they got that knowledge from. Just looking at a few things off that list that are 100% true, right there you should be like, this was orchestrated. This kid was mind warped to do this. Why would this kid be in a BlackRock commercial? I mean, what are the odds? I mean, he's not the most good-looking kid to be in a commercial. There's probably a million other people you could find to be in a commercial, but they decided to put him in, and then he's the one that takes a shot at President Trump. The whole thing just is red flags everywhere. But the things I will state again that are confirmed is he had 5 phones. He was cremated right away. His house is professionally scrubbed. He has no social media footprint after this happened, or, before as well, a little bit before. There are posts out there by him showing that he did have accounts that were screenshot by people. I don't know how they got them, but they were on the internet. Maybe they were fake. Those are unconfirmed. But that he had no social media footprint is confirmed. Why? Beyond me. And then, of course, they're saying the roof was too steep where Secret Service agents couldn't go up there, but yet he's able to walk around with a rangefinder in a gun and climb on a roof. People were yelling that he was up there the whole time. And then when Elon Musk was on Joe Rogan's podcast, they went back with President Trump, and Elon Musk just kept saying, if there was one place to take a shot at somebody on the stage, it was that roof. It was the most ideal place. Like the first place to check if you're going to, basically make a place safe for an event. That's the first place you're going to check is that roof and make sure it's secure. I mean, even ex-Secret Service have said that. Everybody that was involved in Secret Service at any point in their career said that's the first place you check. Dan Bongino said that's the first place you check. All the people that were involved with Secret Service said that. And for some reason, in that event, that roof was left open. So that, to me, has conspiracy written all over it. There's nothing here that you can look at and say, this is perfectly fine what happened. They shot the killer and case closed. You just look at 5 or 6 things in this and you're going, what the heck happened here? I'd like to see what would have happened if Trump was president and this administration's FBI was in. I don't think all of the bad ones are gone, but I think for sure more would come out on this. The one thing that always puzzles me is why they're not investigating it now, finding out why his body was cremated, why his social media was all scrubbed, his house was scrubbed, everything was scrubbed. I want to find out why they should be doing that and finding out who ordered that. Who ordered all that to be scrubbed and cremated and no investigation? That's just basically a right-in-your-face question anybody should have. But Thomas Crooks, you look at his picture. He's a nerdy guy, not a good-looking kid. No reason that he should be in a BlackRock commercial. Absolutely no reason. But I'd love to hear comments on this. You know, whether this was a Republican president, Democratic president, none of this can ever happen. We're going to get into why this is happening, and we're going to get into how we can stop it in the future. But Thomas Crooks, probably the strangest individual that attempted assassination in the history of our country, in my opinion. Even more mysterious than John F. Kennedy's assassination, in my opinion. This is just scrubbed under the table, and I really don't know why. We'll be back with our final segment, asking the question, how much blame does the media have for these assassination attempts? We'll get into that in our next segment.
First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow.
Yes, I do.
This is what kicking the shit out of fascism looks like.
Try to prevent the spread of the lawlessness and the fascist chaos that's been unleashed against us.
So when we say Donald Trump is a fascist, fascism, a huge component of fascism is uniting racism, bigotry, a form of racist nationalism.
We are now living in a fascist dictatorship.
We are worried about potential rise of fascism in this country. We're worried about our democracy falling to an authoritarian and potentially fascist form of government.
Not only to roll over to Donald Trump's will, but to roll over our democracy and allow him to take over this country as a fascist dictator.
When fascism isn't just coming, it's already here.
The former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, said, "No one has ever been more dangerous to this country than Donald Trump, and he is a fascist to his core."
As you saw in that clip of Jimmy Kimmel, absolutely disgusting. We can't have taxpayer dollars paying for somebody like that, causing all this hatred and violence. Number two, the other clip I played, those are just little clips of everyone calling him a fascist right off the bat. It's a talking point that they were given. The SPLC going down. They were generating all this revenue to push back, white nationalism and KKK and hate groups, and all that was being pushed on purpose to divide us. I talked about that in our last episode. But this was going on from 2015 on. And there were some people that, when Obama was in presidency, that were, a little hardcore against Obama, as far as like not believing in his policies, calling him a fascist, calling him an evil person, all that. But there was never cause for violence. If you look at even the last 3 presidents, no one ever called for violence. As soon as Donald Trump came down the escalator, whether you like him or not or voted for him or not, you can't argue that the mainstream media came together as one, just as well as actors and actresses in the music industry, and just went on the same talking point attack for it's over 10 years now. It's settling down a tiny bit, but it needs to be stopped. I mean, you can give your opinion on somebody, great, but don't call for violence. Don't claim he's Hitler and a dictator and all that, because that's false. And everyone that's saying that in the media knows it. He's not a dictator. Obama wasn't a dictator. Bush wasn't a dictator. None of them are dictators. If they're dictators, they'd still be in office. If Trump was a dictator, he wouldn't have left office in 2020 knowing that the election had some real bad things going on in it, especially in Pennsylvania. He still left office. If he was a dictator, he would have stayed in. So these are all talking points. It's gross. It needs to stop. And there's a lot of people out there that are mentally unfit in general. And they're more mentally unfit when they constantly hear that the President of the United States is a dictator, fascist, Hitler, all those things. It's not going to help. It's not going to be good for people and society. So that's why presidents have 4-year terms. They can win, get another 4, and then you go on and people get a chance to vote for the next president. That's why our society is the greatest in the world. But a lot's going down here. We got a lot of factions happening. There's organizations like the SPLC that we talked about. They are generators of hate, taking people's money, thinking it's going to something nice, and it's just generating hate. They're not the only group out there. I'm sure you're going to hear about more. They're not the only one. They're not the first to ever do this. But there's so many Democrat politicians that are overstepping their boundaries, saying things that are just strictly causing violence. I mean, they're saying go out and punch people in the face and all that on mainstream networks. What does that do to kids who are growing up thinking that's okay to do? So much violence is going on. And let's just say the Democrat Party, the mainstream media, is guilty of causing all the violence. That'd be bad. But let's just say they're guilty of 1% of the violence. They shouldn't be guilty of any of the violence. 0. They should actually be helping prevent the violence. So we'll never know the exact impact the media had on the violence in our country, but it definitely had some sort of impact. How large scale that is, I don't know. But let's just say a Democrat president came in, whoever it is. Let's just throw this hypothetical out there. Let's say Tulsi Gabbard stayed with the Democratic Party, won the presidency, and the minute she became president as a Democrat, people called her Hitler, a fascist. Donald Trump's going to end our democracy. Tulsi Gabbard's going to end our democracy. And they're just constantly saying that on TV for 10 straight years, all through her first 4 years and call it her next 4 years. How do you think most of the public, general public, would look at Tulsi Gabbard? Being a Democrat president, it's hypothetical. Not good. So even if you're not a Trump supporter, or even if you didn't vote for Trump, even if you're a Democrat or a center, center right, center left, you got to know, take all his policies aside, his policies aren't causing this. The media is causing it. You may not like his policies. That's okay. But his policies aren't causing people to come out and knock people out, fight, try assassinations. You got to know that for a fact, because it would have happened years ago. It would happen the last presidency, the presidency before that. It started happening now because they pushed it. Go on X, I'd call it X to be the best, and look up Democrat politicians, mainstream media, leaning left organizations, all saying the same talking points. There's videos out there where they're saying the same exact talking points over and over and over again. There's no way. It was orchestrated. They were told what to say. There's so many groups out there feeding these networks money. Their viewership is way down now, but they still keep bringing it. And it's got to end. Now, is the right guilty of some of that? Yeah, definitely. But if you look up all the violent things that have been happening, most of the time, 95% of the time, it's a left-leaning radical lunatic. And that's just the facts. Just look it up. Are there some right-wing, I don't even call them right-wing, like KKK guys out there and all that? Of course. And they're getting funded by SPLC. Driving the hate. So we as the general population, people that see each other in the streets every day, know that what they're telling us is happening isn't happening. Are there factions of it happening? Small percentages here and there? Of course, there always will be. But it's not at the level they're telling you it is. And this type of rhetoric just causes people like the three assassins that try to kill Trump to do things like that. Crooks is, in my opinion, different. He's in a different lane. More needs to be investigated on that. Hopefully it will one day. It should right now. But as we go out on this segment, I want to finalize it and say, my opinion says the media has 75% blame for this. They've been really bad. And I'm going to play a final clip going over all the times since Trump took office, and there's plenty more. I just don't have 8 minutes to play a clip of people calling for violence that are on the left. And it's unfortunate, it's uncalled for, and it needs to stop. And this type of thing needs to stop, because there's going to be Democratic presidents, there's going to be Republican presidents throughout the rest of my lifetime. And I don't want to see people fighting in the streets over who gets elected. I want to see people come together and wish the president the best, no matter who he or she is. We'll be back with our wrap. And as I roll out of this segment, take a look at this clip. And you tell me, maybe in your comments, if this is okay.
White. I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized right, to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
That's it right there, pulling up.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
And sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Thanks for listening to this special episode of the Wiley Wire, episode 30. We'll be back on Friday with our regular scheduled episode. We'll have more segments, our WTF, sports segment, music segment, health, politics. We're going to cover it all that's trending. Thanks for staying wired. Follow us and like us, share us at the Wiley Wire. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on Friday.
The Wiley Wire dives into sports, music, politics, health, and trending topics for entertainment, info, and education. Listener discretion advised. May include mature themes, explicit language, controversial views, or sensitive content. Not suitable for under 18 or all audiences. Parents, please supervise. All opinions from hosts, guests, and contributors are personal and don't reflect our official views. Information isn't guaranteed to be accurate. Do your own research and consult qualified professionals.